Hi, I'm Professor Zubair Jahangir and we'll be starting with setting up of business entities and closure. This is a subject of Group 1 and has 3 parts. The paper comes in total of 100 marks, but its parts are divided. There is part A, there is part B and there is part C. Part A, which is about setting up of businesses, it comes for 40 marks. Registration, licenses and compliances with regarding to any business comes in part B, which comes for 35 marks. And the last part of any business, the last stage of any business is insolvency, winding up and closure of the business. It comes in part C, comes for around 25 marks. Now looking at this structure, can you tell me which is the most important? Now, let's see. 40 marks, for 40 marks you have to study 12 chapters. Here, for 35 marks you have to study 6 chapters. But in the third one, for 25 marks, you just have to study 3 chapters. So making this winding up part really scoring from the exam point of view. Now let's see the chapter wise weightage of each chapter. So this is your part A chapters, which are 12 in total. So you can see the highest is the various types of companies. It comes for around 11. Followed by the charter of documents and how do you alter the charter of the documents. Charter means your MOA, AOA, your memorandum, articles, all of that we'll be studying now. We're just trying to oversee the subject. Then comes your 7th one is your financial service organization and its registration. It comes for around 7 marks. Business collaborations for 7 marks. So this I think are your major chapters, and if you want to set up a business outside India, it's just 6 marks. Then part B, which is for 35 marks. Here the biggest one is about licenses. How do you obtain various licenses? Then 11 marks is your labor law. 9 marks is your intellectual property rights. The third is your insolvency, winding up and closure of business. Now if I see here, it's like a sad part where you're shutting down the business. Now, one is you have decided to wind up the business, it comes here. Or if your company is not functioning, it could be struck off by the government of India. They locate companies which are not functional and they strike them off, remove their name, saying that you all are defunct, non-operational. And the third is dormant companies, which is an inactive company. Now what is exactly inactive companies? How can inactive companies be allowed? Maybe it must be set up for a future project. I set up a company and I say that the operation will start for after 3 months. So this is like a dormant company. Now in detail, if we just see the part A, each chapter. So here the objective is that you understand what are you going to study in the subject. Now in 12th you must have done a subject like OC. It's somewhere like that. First one is a choice of business organization. Let's say you are here, okay, and you come, and this is a very common question asked by clients to us professionals. Okay, so let's say this is your client and he says he wants to do a business. He comes to you as a CS and he is asking you कि ये business में किस structure कौन सा choose करूँ? Should I make it a partnership firm? Should I make it a company? Should I make it a limited liability partnership, something new which is there? Or should I operate as a sole proprietor? Now, depending on various facts of the case, you will give your opinion. So here this chapter helps you choose the business organization for your client. The second is understanding various type of companies. So we are company secretaries. So we are actually dealing with big money, or I could say very big kind of transactions, because companies is one of a very formal or the most formal business structure. So company secretaries are appointed in companies. Now there are different kind of companies. You must have heard of private companies where a few people, two or more people come together and set up a private company. How many members can maximum, members and shareholders are the same. How many shareholders or members can be there in a private company? Maximum number in a private company. We know private है तो थोड़े कम ही लोग होंगे, but कितने? If you are saying 50, it is something which you have studied before. Now there is an amendment. Private companies can have up to 200 members or 200 shareholders. Then comes public company. Now public company have an advantage that they can raise, they have more number, more than 200 also. They can have more than 200 members. They can raise money from the public, and mostly Reliance, Tata's, Mahindra's, all those listed companies on stock exchange which you hear, they all are public company. They all remove an IPO and raise the money. So you're going to study some features of it. There's also a concept of this one person company. We'll see. It's nothing but a sole proprietor with a limited liabilities. So all this will be there. You'll be studying. Then Nidhi company, something uncommon to you. Producer companies, foreign companies, simple. Google having its presence in India, or Amazon, or I could say Netflix setting up their establishment in India, or HSBC Bank, Hong Kong Shanghai Bank of India. If they set up a business in India, we will call them as foreign companies because they were incorporated or set up abroad. Then formation and registration. Then the third chapter talks about your charter documents of the company. Charter is your MOA, AOA, something which you must be having an idea about. Then if you want to change your memorandum or articles, so then that is the other part of the chapter. Fourth is few other type of companies are there, legal status of company. So a company could be a small company, we'll see. Now what happened? Can you tell me who made the Companies Act? Under which committee was Companies Act 2013 formed? Companies Act 2013. It was formed under the chairmanship of J.J. Irani. Now J.J. Irani was the director of Tata's, and he was the person who headed the committee which recommended the Companies Act, and because of whom the Companies Act 2013 was passed. So you should know his name. He is an important person. Now he suggested that why have the same rules applicable to all companies? Because rules are very stringent. Now small companies with a less turnover, less sales, less profit, less paid up capital, less capital only, उनके ऊपर सारे रूल्स अप्लाई करके है अच्छी बात ही नहीं है. रिलायंस के ऊपर ज़्यादा रूल्स लगा सकते हो. इट्स अ बिग कंपनी, इट्स पब्लिक कंपनी, बट स्मॉलर कंपनी शुड हैव स्मॉलर रूल्स. So then he devised a concept of small company. So they have given few thresholds कि अगर यहाँ तक है तो छोटी कंपनी है, कम रूल्स, काफ़ी सारे लॉज और कंप्लायंस से एग्जेम्पशन मिलता है. Then holding subsidiary, we'll see what is that. Inactive company, dormant company, and government company. Then comes a new kind of a concept which is like a limited liability partnership. It's an important chapter altogether. Here, partnerships, like let's say we must have read a lot about partnership firms. A and B are partners, okay? They are the partners of a partnership firm. Now tell me what happens if A or B runs away. Who the creditors, who the people will catch? Firm में आएंगे और पता चला B तो भाग गया पैसे लेके. Who will they catch? They will catch Mr. A. So here there is unlimited liability. पार्टनरशिप फर्म का सबसे बड़ा ड्रॉबैक क्या होता है? अनलिमिटेड लायबिलिटी. कि अगर तुम लोग ने, ये लोग ने मिलके बिजनेस चालू किया, लेट्स से दे टुक अ लोन टू स्टार्ट अ बिजनेस एंड द बिजनेस वेंट बैंकरप्ट, okay, loan, and they defaulted, what will happen? Will they only take the firm ka money, or they will go and attach their personal assets also? When the liability is unlimited, मतलब तुम्हारे personal assets घर भी लेके जा सकते हैं. So because of that, people were not happy with this partnership firm, and they said एक नया टाइप का स्ट्रक्चर लेके आओ जिसमें लिमिटेड लाइबिलिटी पार्टनरशिप है, जिसमें लाइबिलिटी ऑफ द पार्टनर्स इज लिमिटेड. So now if you want to set up, you will set up a firm or a LLP. So you will set up a LLP because the liability is limited. So it's a newer kind of a concept. Then comes different forms of business organizations. This you might be knowing what is a partnership, HUF, sole proprietor. Now this is something new, multi-state cooperative society, and then partnership agreements. Then in the 7th chapter you have formation and registration of NGOs. So we know a lot of NGOs, they are non-governmental organizations. They are made with a non-profit motive. The objectives could be social welfare, could be benefit of society, benefit of environment, okay, for any other reason. So, and how do you set it up, what structure does it fall in, etc. is covered under this chapter. The next is about financial service organization. Now जैसे मैं तुमको financial services बोलूँगा, तुमको क्या strike होगा सीधे? Banks. But do you know there are other companies, other type of companies also which give finance? They are called as NBFC, non-banking financial company. Now this is very important. NBFCs क्या होता है? They are non-banks, means they don't have a banking license, but they will still finance you. So they will give you loans. So these are like something like private loans. तो सोचो मेरी कंपनी बनाया मैंने NBFC लाइसेंस ले लिया कि मैं लोगों को लोन देना चाहता हूँ. बस जमींदार सिस्टम कैसा था वैसे ही सोचो कि कोई बैंक तो थी नहीं वो. So I make a company and I say that I will finance people. I will finance them to buy assets. I will finance them to buy houses. I will finance them, but I'm not a bank. बैंक में FD कर सकते हो, सेविंग डिपॉजिट, डेबिट कार्ड, क्रेडिट कार्ड. मैं बोला वो सब नहीं करना मेरे को. मैं बैंकिंग फंक्शंस नहीं कर रहा हूँ, खाली एक ही फंक्शन कर रहा हूँ, फाइनेंस, लोन देने का. क्लियर है ना? तो वो NBFCs के पास में भी लोग जा सकते हैं टू ऑब्टेन लोन. नाउ देयर आर डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ NBFCs. द कॉन्सेप्ट यू विल अंडरस्टैंड मच बेटर व्हेन यू स्टडी इट. So there are these housing finance companies, asset, all of these are financial institutions. And there's also something like a payments bank, something new. So this is your chapter 8. Then your chapter 9 comes about startups. Okay. So tell me one thing, startups को इंडिया में encourage करना चाहिए या नहीं? Should they encourage startups? Answer is yes. Now when the government also realizes that startups are something which are innovative. Not every new company will be called as a startup. मैंने अगर नई कंपनी बनाया तो am I a startup? In layman's term, yes. बट ये वाला जो चैप्टर है ना, इस गवर्नमेंट इज सेइंग कि ये ऐसा स्टार्टअप है जिसने कोई फाइनेंशियल टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट लेके आए हैं, समथिंग ब्रांड न्यू, समथिंग इनोवेटिव दैट दे हैव ब्रॉट. सो गवर्नमेंट से हम तो खुश हो गए. इन ऑर्डर टू एनकरेज इनोवेशन इन इंडिया, governments have removed the concept of startups and giving exemption to startups. टैक्स हॉलिडे दे देते हैं कि 3 साल तक आपको टैक्स नहीं भरना है, 5 साल तक आपको टैक्स नहीं भरना है. तो ये सब रहता है. सो इफ अ कंपनी इज देयर, ओके, लेट्स से दिस पर्सन इज an entrepreneur, he start up a really nice company, he will apply to the government. The government will recognize कि हाँ भाई आपका स्टार्टअप है, and in the end what will happen, he will get a tax exemption, he will get various tax benefits, etc. So this is important, the benefits that a company gets once they are recognized as a startup. Then we come with business collaborations. Business collaborations is about joint ventures. Then comes your setting up a business outside India. So now this is an important chapter. Just imagine if I want to set up my business abroad. How will I do that? What is the procedure? So all of that is given, choosing the location, the structure, the processes involved. Then comes conversion of business entity. Now, what is the conversion of a business entity? Also a very important chapter. You can consider one compulsory. It will come from here. One question. So basically, if I have set up a private company, I want to go from private company to a public company. I want to convert my private company into public, or a public company wants to be converted into private company. So this is called as conversion. You want to change your structure. That is given under chapter 12. Then we are done with part A. Let's see what is there in part B. Part A was mostly about company के company क्या है, LLP क्या है, basic structure क्या है, startup क्या है, NGOs क्या है, which type of choice to choose. So it's all about setting up of businesses. The second is about licenses. एक बार कंपनी चालू कर दोगे तो कितने सारे लाइसेंसेस लेने पड़ते हैं, वो लाइसेंसेस के बारे में है. रिकॉर्ड्स मेंटेन करने पड़ते हैं. सो फर्स्ट इज योर पैन. जैसे तुम्हारे पास में भी होता है, कंपनीज के पास में भी पैन होता है. टैन, ओके, टैन भी होता है टैक्सेशन, TDS अलॉटमेंट नंबर. सो दिस टैन ऑल्सो यू कैन सी. GST registration, most important. Shops and establishment, various licenses for small scale industries and MSME, all of that. Then your food related mark, if you know, FSSAI, FSI. Then your trademarks, copyright, patents. These are all the licenses that are required. For your employees, employee state insurance. Then if your importer exporter code, if you want to import export. If you are setting up a pharmaceutical business, then drug license needs to be taken. Bank चालू करे तो banking license, telecom चालू करे तो telecom license, insurance चालू करे तो IRDA, Insurance Regulatory Development Authority, information broadcasting. Okay, so all of that is given. Then maintenance of records have to be maintained. Which all records does a company have to maintain? Then identifying the various laws applicable to various industries. ना अलग अलग टाइप की इंडस्ट्रीज होती है. कोल इंडस्ट्री होती है, माइन इंडस्ट्री होती है, एविएशन इंडस्ट्री होती है, बैंकिंग सेक्टर होता है, तुम्हारे पास में सॉफ्टवेयर इंडस्ट्री होती है. तो ये सब के अलग अलग सेक्टोरियल स्पेसिफिक लॉज भी होते हैं, सेक्टोरियल रेगुलेटर्स भी होते हैं. तो उनके पास से भी तुमको पता होना चाहिए कि कौन से लॉज अप्लाई होते हैं. देन वन वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट चैप्टर इज योर इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट्स, IPR. Intellectual property rights, your trademark, copyright. So whenever you set up a business, you will get your trademark registered. If you made a product innovation, so all of this will come in. We'll see. Then comes your various labor laws that you need to follow. Very important. Now there are multiple labor laws, but the concept is very simple. Though this chapter is one of the, or I could say the most vast chapter of your entire subject, but it is very simple. Then comes environmental laws. Now environmental laws are being given a lot of importance because the government, the people, the international pressure is a lot, and people have started recognizing that environment also requires to be protected. So there are around 5: Water Act, Air Act, Environmental Act, Public Liability Insurance, National Green Tribunal, etc. Then your part C. Your part C is about insolvency, winding up and closure of businesses. Now after you set up a business, now they are in the last part, they're talking about closure of a business. What if I want to wind up my business? So uska procedure kya hai? Then comes striking off. If imagine the company has become defunct, non-functional, non-operative, तो ऐसी कंपनीज को क्या कर देते हैं? स्ट्राइक ऑफ कर देते हैं. Third is your dormant company. Dormant company is basically a company which is going to be inactive for some time. Maybe because some approvals are required or for any business reasons रुकी हुई है, dormant है. तो उसके भी काफ़ी सब intimations करने पड़ते गवर्नमेंट को कि हम थोड़े टाइम तक फंक्शन नहीं करेंगे. Now let's understand the chapter that not all the topics or chapters are important. If you go to see, there are 6 chapters which come for 70 marks. They are called as the grade 1 chapters. So I have divided the chapters into grades. सो वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड कि ये 6 चैप्टर्स जो है 70 मार्क्स के आते हैं. वेरियस इनिशियल लाइसेंसेस, your winding up, which is a part C, your types of companies, labor laws, striking off, intellectual property rights. ये से 6 चैप्टर्स है जो तुमको बहुत अच्छे से आने चाहिए. Then come to your grade B chapters. Your grade B chapters, there are 8 chapters will come for 50 marks. So there is your charter of documents, alteration, financial services, business collaboration. So this all 8 chapters you should know for 50 marks. So the marks are also given. Then come to your grade 3 chapters. In grade 3, it is the least important. Your 7 chapters are for 20 marks. Now obviously they can ask you the variation changes, but this is a general past trend which is going on. So these chapters are not very important. It has not as come in the exam for so much time, but still you need to do it properly. Now let's understand the paper pattern. Okay, so paper pattern for the setting up of business entity and closure समझते हैं. So the questions in the paper are not direct questions. Let me tell you, direct questions नहीं आते, direct और indirect दोनों आते हैं. अब डायरेक्ट की बात कर रहा हूं, मतलब क्या डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन जो है वही पैरा वही आंसर, वही पैरा जैसे मॉड्यूल में. इनडायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन मतलब सिचुएशनल क्वेश्चंस होंगे. हम लोग देखेंगे क्या होते हैं. यू हैव टू लर्न हाउ टू अटेम्प्ट सिचुएशनल क्वेश्चंस फॉर दिस चैप्टर आल्सो. सो डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन एंड सिचुएशनल बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस. अब यहाँ पे देखो 3 आवर्स मिलेगा 100 मार्क्स का पेपर अटेम्प्ट करने का, टोटल 6 क्वेश्चन. अब इस हिसाब से आएगा. वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. So your part A, which is for 40 marks, part B is for 35 marks, and part C is for 25 marks. Question 1, 4 questions आएंगे 50 marks, 5 marks के लिए. Then 5 questions आएंगे 4 marks के लिए. तो ऐसे ये लोग 40 marks cover कर रहे हैं, right? Then your 35 marks is covered in this fashion. Here you have to write question 3. And question 4 of 4A तुमको चॉइस मिलेगा. तो you get a choice here and you get a choice here. Then in your question, in your part C, there is question 5 and 6 for 15 and 10 marks. Now let's see the exam paper. एक एग्जाम पेपर देखते कैसे आता है when I'm saying direct and indirect. अब क्वेश्चन इस हिसाब से आता है. A branch office can be established by a body corporate outside India. तो एक चैप्टर था setting up a business abroad outside India, including a firm and involved in manufacturing and trading businesses. The permission to set up a branch office has been obtained from RBI under the FEMA laws. In light of the RBI Master Circular, highlight the activities which are permitted by RBI. Now, if you go to see, it's a pretty situational question. Even if you see the other one, ABC Limited was incorporated on December, so they are not giving you direct questions. So we can say that 50 marks will be direct on an average, and 50 marks will be like these kind of questions which you need to train yourself to write. So you will have to first write the facts of the case. So you will have to write the facts. Then if there is a law, then you'll write the provision of law. Then you will write the conclusion. So you can break down your chapter, your answer into these 3 parts. Then comes ABC Limited was incorporated on 11 December as a government company. So a question with related to what is a government company, whose main objective was to provide examination services to other public sector undertakings where the employees are recruited through advertisement. Okay, so then there is the recent changes in the active tagging, identities and verification in the company's incorporation rules 2014. Comment about the applicability of active with respect to ABC Limited or government company. So if you see right now everything will go a bouncer, but what I'm trying to show you is the questions are asked in a situational manner. Further, if you go here also, is the head of the family consisting of a husband and two sons. She wants to form a HUF in the form of an organization. As a professional, advise the key start for in creation of the HUF and covering the task aspects. So this, if you see, these are all situational questions. So, but there are also direct questions in your paper, like what is the purpose and objectives of the Plantation Labor Act. Here, there we can see it's pretty much direct questions. Dormant companies and excellent status. So these are all direct questions. Okay. Now, how do you start? Now, let's start with the chapter. When you start, important note before you begin the subject, you can start with part C, where only 3 chapters and you complete your 25 marks. So this is the most scoring. So start with your part C, then your part A, which 12 chapters for 40 marks. You can go in order. And in the last, you can do your part B. So when you're doing your part A and you realize that you have come to grade 3 chapters which are not that important, then you can skip it and start with your part B chapter. Clear? So let's begin with part C, then part A and part B in the end. Okay. So I wish you all the very best, and let's start with your chapter. Take care.